Sateesh, what a fantastic set of results. I'm a cricket fan, and I remember once being at the Oval and Brian Lara hitting the ball straight out of the ground. And that's how I looked at these results. I think, it was a tough year last year. You contextualized it. But really, these were remarkable results. What would you like to just touch on about those numbers? Because they were so spectacular.
Thank you, Ali Khan. To start with, I think there's only one reason for Safaricom to be continuously successful in this country, and that is my 29,580 and 185 customers. So 29,580,185 customers.
Growth was how much year on year?
So we added 1.4 million customers to what we had at the beginning of the year. And I'm very pleased with that in a very difficult year when the GDP itself had a significant downward trend, and many people were busy on non-economic activities created because of the prolonged elections.
No, I mean, you had a trifecta. We had the drought, credit crunch, not one election, two elections, weakest growth in 6 years, but yet your numbers were spectacular. Double-digit growth in revenue, EPS up nearly 20%. I mean, these were really strong numbers in a down economy. What happens when this economy booms, Sateesh?
You're right, because in the long term, for us to prosper, we will never prosper unless the society in which we operate also prospers along with us. Which is why we believe in Troveza. We believe if we do the right things with the society in which we operate, the society prospers, and in the process, our profits and numbers will all follow through. This year has been particularly difficult. Look at companies which produce cements, for example, they're down 10 to 15%. Look at companies which are in advertisements and media, they're down 15%. Cigarettes are down, liquor is down. Generally, when you look at it, the environment is down. We will prosper in the long run when they also prosper. So we're very keen to do what we can for the environment to do better. And that's the way Safaricom operates. So in the process, we believe that the future is even brighter than the past.
Now, I saw this very strong focus on a digital company. I saw the phrase there a lot, digital business. When I looked at the revenue streams, let's just talk about voice. I mean, voice was, people were doing the last rites 5-6 years ago when I was coming here. Everyone was saying, Ali Khan, voice, you're still growing voice, right? I mean, that was what, plus
2.4%.
2.4%, which is a good number.
Very good.
Yes. So you're still confident about voice maintaining that sort of anchor to the earnings?
Yeah, so I have to say I'm similar to your camp. I'm surprised by the ability of our team to generate voice revenues year after year. Every year I kind of look at and think this is the year where it's going to plateau. But the team is really invested in customer analytics and are offering products and solutions which are relevant for the customers in a relevant way. So for that mama boga who's got lesser to think about internet but need the voice services to complete the transactions, to speak to a wholesale vegetable supplier, for that customer, voice is more relevant than for me and you who probably use WhatsApps and many other things. So I believe there's still a market if you really search for through customer data analytics and big data analytics to find opportunities which are sprinkled out there and service them still. The other point was digital, and we believe that's the way to go. So we are really working towards to make the digital life of customer better. And by digital, I don't mean just a revenue stream, it's a way of life. To give you an example, we have introduced voice biometrics for the first time in Kenya probably, where you use your voice as a password. No longer can people dupe somebody else if they adopt this technology by stealing your password. Your voice is your password. The moment the voice is your password, I can offer you more self-service at the IVR, which means from a customer's perspective, you no longer need to wait to reach the call center agent. Once you have the secure medium of which can't be broken, I can then give you more services at the highway, which means the time that you need to solve your problem becomes better. We started working on chatbots, and this is something that I don't think many European countries have gone as fast as what we are doing currently. So now you can use Telegram or Facebook Messenger and chat with first a robot who will solve the most generic of queries, if any, and if it's a more complicated problem, we'll transfer the chat to a human being who will then intervene and solve your problem. Many more things. Today, 53% of our recharges are happening at the convenience of customers' home, where they sit, pick up an Mpesa, recharge using an Mpesa, rather than walking to a Duka, picking up a recharge card. So you can see progressively, if you continue to focus on what makes customers' life better, digital provides you with a platform which can accelerate your ambition. You can reach to customers faster, you can service them better.
Before I get to these sort of the higher growth profile, the Mpesa, the mobile data, let me ask you this question. You know, I look at it, my favorite economist is a chap called Schumpeter, and he talks of creative destruction and how economies reform, that, you know, the old gets destroyed, the new gets created. This digital economy seems to me to be all about artificial intelligence, your ability to understand your customer. How is that? What's your philosophy at Safaricom around that?
We believed we should go into artificial intelligence quickly. The fact is, Ali Khan, the more we've understood that space, the more we now understand how much we did not understand it. How much more
That's
is
a
there
brave
to explode.
comment.
So we now think artificial intelligence is for another day. We just first need to focus on big data. The ability to see customer as a 360-degree angle and not as product stream. The ability to see customers' experience from a call center to network to product to an app, all through as a one customer. Because when a customer speaks to us, the customer doesn't speak to technology department, the customer doesn't speak to product department, the customer doesn't speak to another department. He speaks to Safaricom. But unfortunately, given the size of companies that we run, we end up doing verticalization of a customer view. The more we invest in big data, which we are already investing in, the more we think we'll get 360-degree view of a customer. Let me explain this with an example. Imagine Ali Khan having a drop call and calling the call center to complain about it. The normal process would work something like this. You would call, the customer agent will ask you, what can I do for you? You would say there's a drop call, and they'll say, okay, I'm sorry about it, we'll try and do something. On the other hand, the customer cares very little about your sorry, he wants a solution. If we have big data, as and when we completely get to the stage of maturity, think about a situation where we have a customer analytical tool called SEM, where your all call drops are now getting feeded. You have an individual technology score, which says Ali Khan's technology experience has been 93%, whereas his experience has been 25%. And the moment the call center agent sees the call, you kind of see your last 5 transactions and know that you already have a drop call. And if I speak to Ali Khan saying, Ali Khan, thank you for calling. Before I listen to your problem, I know you've had a drop call. I'm sorry about it. I see that this drop call has happened between Wayaki Way to Kenyatta Avenue, and we have a problem there. We will get the equipments from imported in the next 3 months, and please bear with us for the next 2 months. You are much more convinced and much more connected with me as a company than when I give you the standard
It's going to
scripted
be an
answer.
enormous change. That is going to be enormous.
I think that's going to be the next big
So
thing.
big data, you're telling me, is
It's definitely.
Yeah.
And then we will go later into artificial intelligence to see how much more can we get algorithms to work. But I think we are more advanced than many, but the way to look at it is that there's a lot more to grow before we sleep.
Sateesh, many years ago, I interviewed Michael Joseph when he was CEO and he was launching Mpesa. And when I said to him, what do you expect of it? He said, it's going to be a really sticky product. And we're looking at customer retention. When I saw these numbers today, I mean, it was up 14%, I think.
That's correct.
overall, I saw velocity of mobile money was actually slower last year for a long period of last year, the overall picture. Michael again says to me, I think that number you made in Mpesa was larger than KCB. I haven't checked that, but it's really an extraordinary story. I asked you about porting it abroad. You've now tagged into PayPal. You've gone global. Give us a big picture. What is this opportunity? How important is it? What do you see happening next?
Now, Mpesa has really been the growth engine for us for the last few years. It's grown to a scale which speaks for itself. But having said that, we still believe more than 80% of Kenya's transactions happen in cash.
Yes.
And whenever there's a cash transaction, we look at it as an opportunity. We always say, and we focus this way, when people say banks will compete with you, so and so will compete with you, we say our competition is with cash and not with banks. So the more you get banked, the more we think you're more digital, the more you will use Mpesa. So we still see a lot of potential there. We have done well in the traditional streams, but the new streams, if I take Leap and Mpesa
Yes,
as
tell
an
us
example,
about those new streams.
So on an average, 3.5, 4 million people use Leap and Mpesa in a month, which is far smaller than the 20 million customers that we have on Mpesa. So we've got a long way still to go. We used to have 40,000 merchants using Leap and Mpesa every month, and we stayed back. And this is why I think Safaricom succeeds, is because we did not look at the month's results and half year's results to make the main guiding force of what should be principally a long-term way of doing things. So we looked at it and said, how do we unlock the true potential? Reduce the tariffs for this by 50%. In this year, we grew Leap and Mpesa revenue by 1%. So nothing. But the transaction value has doubled. The number of merchants using Leap and Mpesa has moved from 40,000 merchants doing transaction in a month to 110,000 merchants doing transaction in a month. If you build the ecosystem, you can monetize it tomorrow. Nobody's going to come tomorrow and say, you can't charge me 1 shilling or 2 shilling or 5 shilling. So that's for another day. As long as we build the right ecosystems for future, we think there's still more growth left. What we do not want to do is to take the short-term view of saying, this quarter, this month, we will work towards delivering shareholder value, but we also need to equally focus and invest in creating the future for Safaricom. We are very optimistic about it.
And you feel that you could, you've done this sort of international partnership with PayPal. Is that going to be a big revenue increase as well, do you think?
Yeah, I think now Mpesa was one big thing, and now we have many medium things which collectively becomes big. Let me explain this to you. 5 years ago, Mpesa was all about person-to-person transfer, withdrawal. 92% of the revenue, 2 revenue streams within Mpesa done. Today, Mpesa is 3 times or so of what it was 5 years ago, and on this larger pie, 26% of revenues come from new businesses which pretty much did not exist 5 years ago. So I believe we have to focus on many more small things which individually may not be the stage of the overall, but each are now, like for example, we don't disclose numbers of the others beyond. The loan product delivers more than 1 billion shilling today. And there will be another, and that collectively makes it 10 billion shillings, 5 billion shillings. And we believe things like PayPal will open up a lot more opportunities. My team tells me their target is, whatever the small number that we have, we want to make it like 15, 20 times in the next 3 years' time. Exponential. So that's the way we look at some of these new products.
Let me go to mobile data, because that was, I think, the fastest growing revenue stream when you break down the streams. I saw an enormous increase in per capita data usage again. And still you said you reduced prices, grew that business tremendously. Everywhere I turn, today's results was a hotbed on social media. Everyone is now part of this digital mobile data world. Is it still going to grow at this kind of rate? Are we still in that exponential curve? How do you characterize that?
Arithmetically, the numbers will keep coming down because when you grow on growth, arithmetically the numbers will go down. But if I move away from revenue and focus on consumption, that's the primary driver. 70% of our customers today use data. Within that 70%, less than 40% use more than 100 megs. And the balance 60% is still a huge opportunity to grow. So, which is why we're now focusing on offering bundles. So out of bundle data consumption is always creates bill shocks, whereas in a bundle you decide what you want to spend and then you're in complete control of what you want to spend. So we believe that will unlock the next wave. Do not know what the number would look like, but it should unlock the next wave. We also think today within the bundle we provide the customer a facility to click a button and see where you have
the usage,
data, which will further help the trust factor required to grow data revenues or data consumption. So I'm optimistic it will continue to grow as consumption and revenues will follow.
What about the future growth curves? You've got the e-commerce, the Masoko, there have been a number of other initiatives. What's exciting you most about these new opportunities you're seeing?
3 opportunities is what I'm really excited about. Home and home solutions, enterprise solutions. Already fixed data has become 3% of our revenue. Our revenue from home multiplied a few times last time, obviously from a smaller base.
This is driven by number of fiber connections you're making?
Number of fiber connections we're making. I'm excited because once I'm in your home, it opens up a world of opportunities of what I can offer you. Security services, automation of whatever you want to automate in case you want to, and so on and so forth. So it creates a foundation which can be layered for in future. So very excited about it because it creates a connection with the customer which is going to be a long-standing and deep-rooted one as compared to a buy and use and throw product. It is a deeper relationship. So that's one thing that excites us. The second one is Masoko.
Yes.
We think Masoko, the grand ambition, is Africa's product for the world. That's the ambition on Masoko. But we do not want to scale Masoko till we get some of the acts around it right. And that will come only through constant customer feedback. There's thus much you can do through theoretical sessions in a boardroom. And that's what we are focused on. You saw our CSAT scores on Masoko has already gone to 80%, which means 80% of the customers are happy about what they do in Masoko. So we, as senior management, we do not want to see number of orders, we do not want to see the value transacted, we do not want to see how much revenue we're making. We want to see what are the 2 things that you're doing which will be better this month than the last month for a customer. What are the few things that you're doing where the consumer starts falling in love with you? And that's what we're focused on. So we've taken the KPIs away of revenue, cost, etc., given the team a bit of free hand, and they are really producing what I would think good momentum, especially in the last few months.
You had a third, or was that the third?
Yeah, so the third one is regional expansion.
Yes, which is what I was asking about.
Which I think is the more difficult one to attain, given the strict way in which we are looking at a governance. So we have a governance that we are very proud of, which is what makes Safaricom unique. So we want to forge the partnerships with the right type of partners who will stay with us in the long run, who will match our philosophy of long-term prospects, doing what's right for the society and not start from how can we make money in the first year alone. Of course we need to make money, but we need to get some of the fundamentals and foundations right, which is why it will take a little bit more time than the other ones which are more under our control, whereas this requires an alignment like a marriage. So we will take time, but we will constantly look at opportunities, evaluate them, and move cautiously around it.
When you say geographical expansion, is that adjacent geographical expansion, or is that further afield than that?
The target that we have is Africa.
Yeah.
Anywhere in Africa where we think is the right one.
Okay.
So while geographically speaking adjacent ones look like more geographically easier, the way these opportunities unfold may not necessarily follow that sequence. Hence, we are very open around it.
A few more points I wanted to touch on. The dividend, obviously, you're a premier dividend paying stock. You increase the dividend yet again. I saw your cash flow position was significantly better. Are you comfortable that you have enough cash in the bank to do what you want to do here?
Yes.
Even after paying such a grand dividend?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, that's been the guiding force, that we have a strength of balance sheet which enables us to do what we want when the right opportunities present itself.
Can I also touch on one other subject which came up here, which is about the competition, which is about the way the communication authority is dealing with the situation? And my sense is that when companies succeed, and we need to cheer them. Success breeds more success. When a company fails, you see lots of examples of failure in our economy. Some of them at the market, and it's like a Groundhog Day. We keep going back, bailing them out. Nothing really happens. Philosophically, do you think the government's attitude is correct in the way they're approaching this situation?
It's a very good question, Ali Khan. And Bob's explained this much better than what I can, so I'm going to borrow his words. He says the best thing for Kenya is to create 3 more Safaricoms rather than break the one Safaricom that
Correct.
we have.
Yeah.
We are today iconic as a country in East Africa.
And the world.
I'm saying Kenya as a country
Yeah.
stands as a forefront on many things in East Africa. And we think all the policies that the government should think about should be to further strengthen that position and take it to the next level. And Safaricom can play a part in the grand vision of where this country can go. We would like and encourage all the stakeholders to continue to look at the long-term vision of where the country should be and how companies like Safaricom can augur and help in that process. Our view is being successful, being dominant is not a crime. Abuse of dominance is a crime, and Safaricom is very clearly found not abusing dominance, and hence punitive measures which normally are applied to those situations, it's not contextually right to use the same paintbrush in the case of Safaricom. Like Joe said earlier, Safaricom creates so much employment, and it's important that we look at the cascading impact on the society while thinking through some of these regulations.
You touched on that point about employment, and I think some people don't understand it, particularly from abroad. You were talking about the mama boga at 4 a.m, buying her vegetables, taking a loan out, repaying it in the evening. I mean, it's at that fundamental level that it's a need for people, is it not, rather than a want?
So this company which did an independent survey on the impact of Safaricom on the society has quantified that Safaricom sustains, not directly employs, sustains 830,000 jobs in this country, in a country where the average age is 20, in a country where the unemployment rate is 37-40%, 830,000 jobs.
It's the most jobs. My final question is, you gave a very bullish upgrade here for the next full year results. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about what led you to think that and why?
So we think the economic recovery or economic trajectory of the country should start gradually going back to where life was when everything was normal. We are counting on it and thinking that we would get back the momentum in the society in which we are operating, which will then in turn enable us to service them and grow our revenues as well. It is very optimistic. And as I said, arithmetically it's starting to become more difficult because it's of a longer,
much
bigger,
higher
much higher base. But at this point of time, we think we are excited about a tough target, and that brings the best out of us, and that brings the best out for our shareholders.
I'd like to finish by thanking also Bob, because he made a lovely intervention. We have a little club and he's known as the captain. And I wanted to ask, it seems you have tremendous bench strength, that in the absence of the captain, that you have been able to deliver such a great result. And for that, Sateesh, I really want to commend you and all your people for really an outstanding performance, which I think was far better than any analyst had predicted. But really, you've delivered a fantastic set of results, and all of us Kenyans are really proud that you are at the helm right now and doing such a great job.
Thank you so much, Ali Khan.
Thank you, Sateesh. Thank you.